It's Form Check Friday again. Here we go. Hey guys, welcome back to Form Check Friday. Thank you all for being here. I'm Paul. Clint is napping somewhere. I'm sure he'll come in at some point. Looks like we got a great group again this week. Thank you for your submissions. We got some last minute ones, so we'll try and get to everybody. I have a new theory based on last week that videos under an hour take a lot less time to process on YouTube. Sometimes the videos take like 3 or 4 hours to get the 4K version up. Last week we were under 60 minutes and it looks like it processed in like 10 minutes. So I'm gonna try and keep this thing under an hour this week and we'll see if my theory holds. But thank you again for joining me. And we will get through everybody today. So for those of you joining for the first time, I have not seen any of these. We're going through this together. It'll be live for me and sort of replay for you, but that's how we do it. So let's get into it. We got Dick again. We've been working a lot on Dick's squat. So we got another update. Let's see how it's going. Righto. This is feeling a little bit like whack-a-mole. Every time I fix one thing, something else pops up wrong. That's part of the deal. Every time you fix one thing, there's another thing to work on. And there's things that happen at heavier weights that you didn't even know would be a problem at lighter weights. So part of the process, man. Trying to get the brace with the chest up and the head down, lean over early and hold the back angle longer on the way up. How am I doing on this? We will see. On the downside, my knees are caving in a bit. I've brought a broom handle so I can practice my form every day in my bedroom and try and lock in the new habits. Okay, so nothing wrong with that. However, I will say that it's very hard to do lifts correctly with very light weight. So even an empty bar, if I'm watching someone squat with an empty bar for part of their warm up, I usually don't even make corrections because anything I say, as soon as I put a little bit of weight on there, those errors are going to go away. So rather than waste my time, you just like hope that it's good enough. You know, if they're a total beginner and there's some glaring issues, we'll fix those. But it's very hard to squat, even with a 45-pound, 20-kilo bar, let alone a broomstick. So there's nothing wrong with practicing it, but it's very tough to do it correctly without a little bit of weight on your back. So just keep that in mind. This is set 2 of 3 at 145 kilos. So let's take a look at how Dick's doing and we'll see what we got to work on. All right, back in the dungeon. And do we have volume here? What's going on? A little bit. We're going to turn down in case Nickelback's playing or something like that. I don't want to get pulled off YouTube. Maybe the new Taylor Swift album. All right, Dick, let's see what you got here. All right. Upper body looks good. Head position's good. Bar's in the right place. Toe angle we'll talk about. Okay. Little too upright on that one, but let's see if you dial it in. Rep number 1's always kind of a wash. Oh, there we go. Good. Much better. Okay, let's see if you can... What we're looking for is for Dick to get leaned over real quick, and... That's exactly right. Now, I screwed this up last time or the time before with the segment lengths, but if you have a long torso and short legs, you're going to tend to be more upright in the squat and the deadlift. If you have a short torso and long legs, your back's going to be more horizontal. So Dick seems to have a fairly long torso, which means he's never really going to be as leaned over as you might think, but there's no right or wrong here. It's just the way that your body's built. So you're always going to be a little bit more upright than other people. But these look great, man. So I think that everything from on the descent and the ascent are solid, aside from this first rep, which we're not even going to talk about because you fix it on reps 2 through 5. So we'll just kind of ignore this one. But I do want you to watch your hips. They're kind of, on all of these, they're kind of going back and up and they like scoop, they kind of shoot back and then they come up instead of moving straight up and down. And that's really a function of the knees moving in a little bit, as you pointed out. So we know that's the issue, but you're leaning over great. you're driving your hips, you're hitting depth, and you're keeping that back angle really like a lot longer than before. So home run, man. Like these are excellent. We just have one little thing. That was, perfect. Okay. So we got one little thing to fix here, Dick, and I'm going to give you a couple of cues to think about. So you can take all the things that you're thinking about now and kind of put those on the back burner because we've got those, you've kind of fixed that stuff. So now I need all your focus on two things here. But before we get into that, I want to address your toe angle. So I think I've said this before on other form checks of yours where I was worried that your toe angle might be too wide. And I think that might be an issue here. So it's hard to, like I said, I would have to kind of walk around you to see it. But it looks to me like your toes might be out a little too much. So why don't you pull them in, leave the heels where they are, and just rotate the toes in till you're at about like 35 degrees. Okay, so not out here. And that way you can focus on getting that knee out harder. If the toes are real far out, the knees are always going to be inside of the toe instead of in line with the toe, and that makes it hard to keep them out. So turn them in a little bit and see if we can focus on jacking the knees out. So here's what I want you thinking about. When you get to the bottom, I want you to think that this is the point at the very bottom where my knees are out wider than they've ever been the entire set or the entire rep. So the point of maximum knees out is right at the bottom. And then as you start to push up, right, remember you're looking straight down, maybe a couple inches in front of your toes, but you're watching your eyes out of your knees out of your peripheral vision. And if you see them move in a little bit, you use your brain to shove them back out until you reinforce that pattern and you don't have to think about it anymore. But every time you see them cave in, you just make them go back out. So when you switch your focus from going down and your back angle to driving up, you are kind of taking your focus off your knees. And so you're worried about pushing the hips up at the expense of letting the knees cave in. What I want you thinking about is, as I push my ass up, I'm also going to push my knees back out even harder. And even if they didn't move in, just try and just make sure they don't come in, because that's really where they want to pull in, is right at the bottom. And if they come in, then you get this scooping motion with the hips, right? The hips go back and up instead of straight up. So I want you thinking at the bottom, I'm pushing, the drive up consists of shoving my ass up, but also pushing my knees back out so they're as out as they can be. On top of that, I want you to think about maintaining or keeping a little bit more weight on the balls of your feet. Because as you do that scooping thing, your weight's actually shifting back to your heels a little bit. So if you can think out from the bottom, very bottom up, I'm thinking weight on the toes a little bit, knees out to their max, and hips straight up, okay? And obviously we want weight over the middle of the foot, but you've got too much shifting to the heel. So if you think about the toe, keeping a little bit more weight on the balls of the feet, hopefully we can overcorrect and end up with balance. So I want you thinking, keep my weight on the balls of my feet, keep my knees out as hard as possible, drive my ass straight up, not back and up, okay? Everything else looks fantastic. Head down, leaned over, hang on to the back angle. Depth is good. Just keep the focus on knees stay out, weight stays a little forward, ass goes straight up. And I think we'll be good to go, man. I think we're getting there. Remember, try and turn the toes in just a little bit. We'll see if that helps. And post up another one. And we'll see if, I mean, we're real close. I'd say you're about 95% of the way there. So we just got to fix that little scoop. And this is really just a mental thing where you just refuse to allow the knees to cave in. Okay? Work on that stuff, and we'll keep going until we get it perfect, and then we'll put some weight on there and you'll have a whole bunch of new problems. So thanks for posting, and probably see you next week, man. All right, let's keep going. We got... Okay, hi Paul, you helped me here a couple weeks ago. The first time my stance was too wide, back angle too horizontal, and shins were straight and vertical, straight vertical. I worked on these and submitted a second video. The second time you said I needed to set my back angle sooner and then work on hip drive straight out of the hole, not my hips sliding back like we just talked about with the last form check. I've been trying to work on these, but I feel like I'm not making any progress to correct this. Here's a video of my last set of 5 at 260, and if you have time, there's another video of a back off set of 135, just trying to nail down the form. Some reps felt better than others. I was experimenting, trying to figure this out. Thanks for all the help and the work you do for us. You got it, man. Okay, let's take a look, see what we got. we're going to start with the heavy one because, you know, 135, like that better be perfect. Okay. All right. So I'm going to watch a few of these. Up everything from the top, everything looks pretty good here, position-wise. That one was a little high. Okay. That one went back a little bit. Thinking about this a lot. Yeah, okay. All right. So let me watch the final one and then we'll get into the recommendations here. Okay, not too bad on that one. So overall, we're still missing depth here. So if maybe I can catch you at the bottom. If I can get my pause right. Yeah, okay, so we're kind of coming up like this, right? And we need to be more like, that's a little exaggerated, but we need this down here a little more. So again, this is a factor of the back angle, right? And let's watch the knees and see if the knees are pulling you forward or they're getting set early enough. So I'm paying attention to your knees here. Lean over. Yeah. Okay. So like that rep right there, right? Your knees are good. Like they're set where they need to be, right? Like that's beautiful. Like the knees are exactly where they need to be here. The back angle looks pretty good here. That's not the back angle. It's more like this, right? So you're kind of leaned over. What we need from here is for you to focus on keeping these knees out, right? Making sure those knees stay out. This back angle stays the same, right? Because you got this locked in and you're pushing the knees out to make room for your butt here to drop straight down. Okay. So you don't need to lean over any more than this, right? You don't need to drop your chest anymore. What you need to do is drop this, right? So if this is your head up here and this is your butt, so this is your back, you're at the top, you lean over, we're taking it down, and then back up here, right at the last second, what I want to see is this. Your butt drops down here and pops up. And instead, what I'm going to see when I push play is this. You're gonna lean over even more at the bottom, which, like we talked about last time, feels like you're going lower because the bar is going lower. The body is going lower, but that hip, you never. Let me see. If this is your knee here, right? Like this is your kneecap, and you're here, right? And you're like let's say you're a little above parallel here, okay? And to finish, we need to go like this. And instead, you're going like this. You're kind of collapsing down. And the hip crease never drops below the top of the knee here. So I need this point right here to get below this point right here, okay? Because right now, it's like that. And I need it to be down here, kind of like that. But we're never going to hit that because you're just going to lean over more here. So see, it never breaks that point. So let's watch another one. You lean over and then dude, this is sorry. Well, I'm going to watch one more, okay? That one was actually okay. That one was a little bit deeper. Let me see one more time here. Yeah. Okay. So all of this is a function of one problem. And that is by the halfway point, you do need to get leaned over faster, which you said you're working on. Just lean over, just nipples to the floor right away. So let's go to the top of a rep, and I'll try and pause this. So so here, right, you're leaning over right away. Okay, this is good. Okay, so by here, you should have established your back angle. This angle right here is done. That's as leaned over as you're ever gonna be by this point in the squat. And then your focus has to shift to maintaining that angle, right? Don't lift it, but don't drop it any more than this because it's already set. And instead, letting your butt drop down, right? So I want you to lean over right away and then think about trying to just stay. You could think about trying to hold the back angle, or you could think about trying to stay a little upright and let the second half of the descent be all about your ass dropping down. Okay? Your ass has to, this stays. If you lean over more at the bottom, it's wrong. You're not going to hit depth. So right here, this is like the bottom for where you think the bottom is or where it feels like the bottom. You've actually leaned over a little bit more, but you're not at depth because this, and I'm saying this again, this part right here has to get deeper. This has to stay up, but this goes down, okay? So by the halfway point of the rep of the descent, you're done leaning over. You've already leaned over, you've set the back angle. And the second half of the descent is all about dropping your ass down. Keep the chest up. Don't let the chest fall. Keep the chest up. Don't lift it, right? Don't let it fall, don't lift it. Keep it right where it is and allow your hips and your ass to drop into the bottom and get that pop, get that little bounce. You can see on all your reps, you have no bounce because you're not actually getting to the bottom. So you're just going down and stopping and then coming back up. So there's no stretch reflex. Once you do this, once you feel this, it's gonna feel, you're gonna notice a little boost. Okay, so that one was that you slid into your knees instead of sitting back, right? So at this point, here, right? This one's actually not that bad. This one's actually, I think you're pretty much at depth here. And you got a little bit more pop out of that one. So, let me see if I can catch it on the last one. Let's go, let's go. Yeah, so on that one, you get to about here, right? And what's gonna happen here is this is gonna pull you forward again. You're gonna slide forward into your knees. And what needs to happen instead of this going forward, right? Shitty arrow, is this stops and all the focus is here, sitting, dropping your butt. Keep the chest up, drop the ass down. So again, you could think about at the bottom, you need more weight on your heels, okay? You need more weight back here. So when from the top you lean over and shove your knees out, your weight goes to your toes. And then at the halfway point, you start sitting back onto the heels so that when you're at the bottom of the rep, you've got some weight back here. Your chest is up, your back angle is the same, your hips are lower than your kneecap, right? And you've got a little bit more weight back to your heels, and then you drive your butt up, okay? Those are the big things here. So basically stop leaning over so much after you get halfway down. It's like halfway point, knees are set, back angle set, and all that happens is your butt drops down and pops back up, okay? Let me quickly take a look at the 135 set. Hey, buddy. And wait. Oh, I think you had both of them in there. Let me see. And we'll see if it's any different. I'm just going to watch this quickly. Oh, okay. No hip drive on that one, but the descent, like you maintain that. But yeah, okay. Now what you need to do here, first of all, keep that back arched more because see how it's rounding at the top? Like as you go down, your upper back, this part right here is going soft. So at the top, you're arched up, and as soon as you start squatting, you forget because you're worried about all the other stuff I'm telling you, and it rounds like that. So that's going to make the bar feel like it's rolling up. It's going to prompt you to lift your chest too early. At the top, chest up, elbows up, right? Back arched. And you never let this go. You're always keeping this up, even though you lean over. So even at the very bottom of the rep, your back should still look arched up like that, even though you're much more horizontal. Okay, that's a key thing here to make this work. But you're missing the hip drive here. So these are better. Obviously, they're lighter. They should be. Okay, that last one was better. But if you watch your butt, it's like your hips and shoulders move up too perfectly. This is right out of the bottom. It's like your chest is almost leading you up. And what I want to see from here, what I'm looking for is I want this to go up first. Okay, so you lean over, you're taking it down, everything's even, the butt drops down and the butt comes up first. So there's a very slight change in back angle, 2 or 3 degrees out of the hole, that shows me you initiated the drive up here and not here. Right now, sometimes you're lifting, sometimes it's just perfect. I want to see the butt pop and then that back angle catches up. So for like the first 2 inches out of the bottom, I should see it become a little bit more horizontal. And then that back angle is going to lock back in. It's good. The shoulders are going to catch up. And aside from those first 2-3 inches, the rest of the rep, the back angle is constant. The rest of the ascent. Okay? So exaggerate that hip drive. I want to see your ass pop out of the bottom. Okay? I don't know if I did this before, but I'll do it again. Let me see if I've got a hip drive thing here. I'm just looking for my videos. I have like some sample videos of good hip drive. Yeah, okay, we'll watch this one. And just look at his butt, okay? Just watch his butt out of the bottom. And you'll see what I mean when I say your butt moves first. See that little pop there? Lean over, pop, right? It's very obvious that he started pushing with his ass first. And then the back angle caught up, okay? So you're gonna have to exaggerate it. You're gonna have to make it feel like you're doing too much hip drive, because right now what you think is right is not enough. So make it feel like I'm going to be like, dude, that's way too much hip drive. Like, I want you to do that much hip drive where you think I'm going to correct you and say like, way too much hip drive, man. Okay? Work on that stuff. Don't get frustrated. We're dialing it in. Things are looking better. Just set that back angle. Focus on dropping your ass only for the second half of the descent, and more hip drive on the way up, and keep that upper back arched, okay? Good. Thanks for posting. We'll keep going with that. All right, Jordan, coach, can we take a look at my bench and dead this week? I've got just about the shortest arms I've ever seen, so I'm trying to make the best of a bad deadlift build. We had been looking at my squat, but had a back tweak and pretty much have just been able to do the barbell. All right, well, let's see what we got here. All right. Bench press. Oh, okay. What do we got? Like 315, what is that? 325, 330? That's my guess. Okay, let's take a look. Let's kill this volume. Okay. Oh, all right. Just like a little double. Okay, so I don't know if this is you're doing like competition bench here where you're trying to pause on your chest because you got a meet coming up and you're working on that. If that's the case, then keep doing what you're doing, practicing that pause. Otherwise, if this is just for general strength training, I would get rid of that pause and actually try and use that stretch reflex. Don't bounce it off your chest, right? Don't use your rib cage like a springboard, but you want to use the stretch reflex of the pecs if you can. Again, if you're practicing this because you compete, then practice that pause all you want. Now, here's a little controversial thing or a difference of opinion. This little heave that you do when you here, and then you can see you actively like push it with your legs, like your legs they're engaging more. You can see your quads and your butt kind of lift as you're like initiating that drive up. Some coaches who are very good at what they do, who I respect a lot, bench that way and coach that way. they recommend that sort of like almost jerk to get it started. And if I'm not going to say that that's wrong, because they're probably a lot stronger than I am. And, you know, it's certainly, as long as your butt stays on the bench and it's legal, you go for it if that's how you want to do it. I don't like to bench that way. I like to, in fact, I want my feet tucked so far back under my butt. So my advice when setting up the bench is, once you get in position, you walk your feet underneath you. Like, you start walking your feet back underneath you until, if this is your heel and this is the floor, until your heel starts to lift up naturally, like an inch. So you just keep walking back till you have to lift your heel, and then you jack your heel down onto the ground. You shove your heels down. And what that does is it puts all this tension on your quads, and then you're like wedged onto the bench. So you don't even have to think about engaging your legs, because you're so wedged in there that there's just tension throughout your whole body. And then all you're thinking about is moving the elbows up and down, versus having to actively think about engaging the legs and the quads every rep, right? For me, I would rather get like super tight on that bench, tuck my feet under me, jack my heels down, and then just be tight the whole time. I just like that. There's less chance of you shoving your ass too hard up off the bench and breaking contact, and then in a competition you get no lift on that. So personal preference, I don't think your butt is leaving the bench, and this is certainly an acceptable way to do it. I just don't coach it this way. So take that advice for what it's worth. Overall, your form looks great. So I think you're doing a great job here. There's not really a whole lot to correct. So that's just a little tidbit I can offer you. And then I think you had another video, since that one was kind of not very exciting. I mean, it looked great, but there just wasn't a lot to correct. All right, let's look at your, okay, what do we got on here? What was that, 495, 500, and so, yeah, it looks like 500. Nice, man. How many are you going to do here? Set of 5. Oh, let me kill the volume. Wait, I missed it. Okay, hang on. I had to play with the volume. Here we go. And beltless too. I mean, that's a very nice pull, man. I would recommend wearing a 3-inch like a 3-inch belt if you can get one, but obviously you're doing fine without one. So, but a 3-inch powerlifting belt feels real nice. And I don't know if did you say you had a back tweak? Yeah. I mean, it's not going to prevent back tweaks, but it certainly helps to keep everything engaged. So you might consider getting a 3-inch powerlifting belt for deadlifts. Dominion makes one. There's some on my website that I recommend. HORNSTRENGTH.com/resources has like a link to equipment, but that might help. That looked like it swung off your legs a tiny bit. But, I mean, I'm going to have to nitpick here. Yeah, I mean, these are great. The only thing, if I was like being really nitpicky with you, would be to finish a little bit more. Like, make sure you're standing all the way up, chest up, shoulders back, and then like a very slight lean back. Just a little bit more lean back, just to confirm that you've locked out your hips and knees. But, you know, that would be if we're doing a meet and I want to make sure that you don't get dinged for not finishing the lockout. But overall, like, you know, I'm reaching for something to tell you, because these look really good. Yeah. I mean, good set, man. This is a very nice pull. I think, did it come off your shins a little bit? No. Now you're good. I'd say maybe like just a little bit stronger of a finish, slightly more lean back, just to make sure the hips are fully locked out. But overall, impressive, and great work, man. I dig it. Keep going. Okay, and that back tweak doesn't look like it's all that bad if you're just repping 500. Okay, we got 2 more, and hopefully we'll get under the 60-minute mark. J Crisp, 16. Been working on keeping my knees out with pause squats after your last review. Any improvement? Let us take a look. All right. Get me out of the way. Let's just come up here. Okay. This is kind of a hard angle to judge from. The camera's a little tilted and I'd like to be a little bit more to the side, but yeah, okay. So overall, not bad. How do I play this again? Let me see if I can pause it a little bit and catch some. So it's mainly like this knee looks okay. Again, the camera's sort of tilted, but you can kind of see that this is at an angle here, and I'd want it to look more like that. So I mean, this right here I think is okay, but this one kind of looks like the knee's kind of caving in that way a little bit, and I think we'll be able to see it more on the way up. Let's see if I can catch it. Yeah. So you can see they're kind of both moving in a little bit, right? Which would lead to a scooping of the hips, like we talked about with the first guy. The hips are going to come back, and we can't really see it because I'm too far behind you. But if I was to the side a little bit, we'd see your hips making this like up and back instead of the hips moving straight up. As the knees cave in, the hips will push. It'll be like a circular thing. Okay, so this is a tough one. I mean, aside, and you may need to angle your toes out a little more. So I mean, it looks to me like you're kind of here and here. Like this guy might need to, if you leave your heel right where it is, and then just rotate this out a little more. So maybe toes are more like that instead of like this. Because toes out helps the knees go out. To a point. If toes are real far out, knees can't get lined up. But yours look like they might be a little too straight ahead. So I would try angling the toes out a little more. And then when you get to the bottom, especially with those pause squats, right? Here, in this point right here, you need to be checking that your knees are out as far, like, again, like I said before, if I could come over to you at this moment, put my hands between your knees and move them out at all, you didn't shove them out hard enough. And I guarantee you, if I walked up behind you, I could pull them out 2-3 inches on each side, which means you didn't get them jacked out enough. And that's really like, it's not only out on the way down, right? The real challenge is as you start to push up, they want to cave in. And so a lot of times you'll see guys do a decent job getting the knees set out early, but as soon as they start thinking about driving their hips up, they forget that they also have to keep the knees out. So I want you thinking at the bottom when you get there, as I'm about to drive up, and when I do, I'm not only going to focus on driving my butt up, I'm going to focus on re-establishing that knee out position. Like at the same time my hips go up, my knees go out again. Even if they're out, I'm going to keep them out harder. I'm going to fight that battle because I know they want to pull in. And so it's my job to make sure that as I push up, in other words, once you get to the bottom with your knees out, you're not done. Because if you take your focus off that, they're going to pull in. Okay, so you have to make sure the drive up is two things: ass up and knees out at the same time. Okay, and like I told the first guy in the first form check today, make sure that as you're starting the ascent, the drive out of the bottom, you're keeping some weight on the balls of your feet, because when the knees cave in and the hips scoot back, the weight wants to shoot back towards your heels. So to overcorrect for that, you're going to focus on weight on the balls of your feet. You're going to focus on knees out, okay? And you're going to focus on hips straight up, all right? That's the deal. That's what we want. Knees out, keep the weight, a little bit of weight on the balls of the feet, hips straight up. And the whole way up, you're thinking knees out, knees out, knees out. This is like, you just have to focus again and like keep your eyes about 6 inches in front of your toes. So you're almost looking perfectly straight down so you can watch your knees out of your peripheral vision. And if you see them come in at all on every warm-up set, you got to practice this right. Pay attention on your warm-ups. You see them as you push up, you see them cave in, you make them go back out with your brain. And eventually you won't have to think about it anymore because it'll just feel correct. Okay, but this is like, it's very hard to do this with heavy weight because, again, those adductors, if you haven't been insisting that they stay out, they are the weak link in the chain, right? They're not strong enough to stay out when you go to heavier weight because you haven't been making them. So they need to get stronger, which means you might need to back off the weight a little bit and insist on perfect knee position, perfect form, and let them get stronger. And then eventually when they're stronger, you'll be able to break through your plateaus because you're now using more muscle mass. Once those knees cave in, the adductors are basically out of the lift. So you're missing muscle mass you could be using to help lift more weight. So even though you might have to take a step backward to dial this in, eventually when they get stronger, it'll pay off. You'll be able to lift a lot more weight. So those are the things, man. All you're worried about right now is right out of the bottom. Knees are at their widest position here. They stay at their widest position here. And as you come up, you're fighting to keep them out while you push the hips straight up and you keep a little bit of weight on your toes, a little bit, and you maintain that back angle. Okay? So I don't know if you posted a second video. Nope, just that one. That's the goal. Okay, those are things. And again, you might keep going with the pause squats. In fact, you might want to incorporate a day where you have your heavy squat day and then you have a day that's just pause squats. And in that case, you could use like 70-75% of your heavy day weight and do like 3 sets of 5, everything paused, all the warm-ups, and just give those adductors a chance to get stronger. And then eventually you won't have to think about this anymore. Very common problem. It's something a lot of guys deal with. So don't get frustrated, but it's fixable. I've seen it fixed many times. And like women have a real hard time with this. Like if there's women and knee cave is like one of the hardest things to fix. So, but most guys with enough reminding, if I'm there yelling at you, that seems to fix it quite a bit. So, all right. Clint's like huffing and puffing. You okay, buddy? What's going on? You gonna throw up? Please don't throw up. Okay. Last one. Let's see if we can do this before Clint throws up. He didn't eat breakfast this morning, so that usually means he's going to puke at some point. All right, we got Miguel here. We got a press. Wait, let me kill this volume. Where's the volume? Oh, there it is. I should know this by now. All right, my man Miguel. I think this is just like I didn't even read your thing. Sorry. Hi, Paul. Wasn't going to post, but since there are spots, intensity press for this week, 80 kilos. 176 pounds. Yes, that's correct. Single post-COVID. Oh, right. You had COVID. Okay. Sorry. It's a single, but I was doing doubles before. All right. Whatever. We can look at a single. Okay. Not bad. Oh, wait. Oh, okay. So it was supposed to be a double, but it ended up being a single. All right. Let's try again. Let me see if we can dial in the details here. Hand position looks pretty good. Forearms look pretty vertical. Stance looks a little narrow. I think I usually tell people to take their squat stance because you want a wide base of support. Helps with the hip motion, which I think might be missing here. Yeah, let me see. I'm just going to watch this a few times. So most of it's kind of tough to they're moving forward a little bit. It's kind of tough to tell with all the dark clothing. So a lot of the bounce that you're trying to generate, that's supposed to come from the hips, okay? So that's supposed to come from pushing this area here, from basically your knees to like your waist. I just drew all over you. Okay, so like from here to here, this is the section that we're pushing forward. Okay, what you don't want to do is try and get that range of motion from your low back. Because if you do, you're gonna feel a stabbing sharp pain in your lumbar spine because the facet joints of your lumbar spine aren't really designed to extend that way. they're designed to flex. They have a lot of room when they flex, but going the other way, there's not much space and you can crack them. So I always tell people that you want to reach forward from the thighs. Don't try and get your range of motion from up here. And it looks to me like all your range of motion is coming from like above the waist. You're basically overextending your back to try and generate that bounce. What I want is for this segment right here, from your head to about your waist, is just rigid. It's just a board. And this area right here is what we push forward. Okay, so, and if you keep your abs real tight, you squeeze real hard, take a deep breath and squeeze real hard, keep the abs tight, that will protect your lumbar spine and prevent it from overextending. It'll help keep it straight. So it looks to me like that this bounce is coming from like you're trying to like arch your upper back. And I mean, you're getting a decent bounce, and see if you're getting under it. Yeah, I mean, you're trying to get your head under it right away. So you've got the basic motion down. It's really a matter of where you start that rebound, that stretch, where you start that bounce, that hip thrust. Okay. And too often, like I said, guys try and get it from too high up. They try and get it from up here when really it's down here. So just think about the other thing that I can't really tell, but I'll just point it out because it's a common problem, is if you start the rep with your hips forward already, right? So like you take the weight out and your hips are already forward. I'm doing a bad job of that, but like you're starting the rep from like a leaned back position, kind of like here, you know, that's not a good line. Like here and then like kind of back here like that, like the hips are already pushed forward. Then they have nowhere to go because they're already forward. So make sure that after you get that bar out of the rack and you re-establish the start position, and in between reps too, make sure you pull your hips back to neutral. Okay, because a lot of times guys will do the first rep and they'll leave the hips forward. So when they bring the bar back down, the hips stay forward and they never pull the hips back. And so the next rep, they have nowhere to go because they're already forward. So you can't generate that bounce. So you end up bouncing with your arms or doing what you're doing and try and bounce it with your upper back, right? The part of the reset between each rep and before you start the first rep after unracking it is get the bar out, get balanced, take a deep breath, and make sure that you pull your hips back underneath you so that they have a couple inches to move forward so you can generate that bounce. And then when the bar comes down, make sure that you didn't leave them forward before you start the next rep. Pull them back so you're standing straight up and down. That way you have some range of motion and you can generate that bounce that you're going to need as this gets heavier. So those are the two things. You don't look like that's a huge problem, but I would say make sure the abs are tight, make sure your hips are neutral underneath you, and make sure that that you're reaching forward from the thighs, okay? Not the low back, from the thighs, okay? And you're pushing your thighs to the mirror there to try and generate that bounce. Everything else looks pretty good. And, let's see a set of 5 or something with it's not like at a max so we can dial in some form. But thanks for posting last minute, and I hope this was helpful. Okay, guys, I think we got through everybody. I need to turn the AC on in here. I'm starting to sweat. 45 minutes. Did everything. Thank you guys for posting again. And I will see you next week. Let's keep it going. All right, guys. Thank you.